really ascended. And then 111. Okay, most setters. Cool. Just so before we start, like I said, I'm going to give a bit of background on me. I run quite a cool agency at the moment, doing about 50K a month, working with 5 or 6 like done for you clients. And this is kind of like growth operating, you could call it. I'm sure you all heard the term, across like a few different B2C niches. And yesterday I closed like a 6K setup fee, not to flex, but just to show you, like, you know, I'm actually doing this. I think the date's there. Yeah, it is. So, yeah, that's me, just to give myself a little bit of authority coming into this so you actually listen. Let's go back a bit though to my story, because when I was young, I played a lot of sport, played a lot of basketball, football, all of that stuff in the UK. I'm from Cambridge, if anyone knows where that is, not too far from London. And like, I was always very, very driven. I'm sure a lot of you guys were the same, but then I played a lot of video games. It was like COVID and stuff, and I couldn't be fucked. And there was like, I don't know why, but I was then like really addicted to video games. I kind of channeled that energy into video games. But then afterwards, I found Hamza's like First Man, these like kind of self-improvement or like YouTube channels, kind of like fixed my shit a little bit in terms of my mental health and in terms of just like spending 12 hours a day playing video games. And even went on this hike, and I know Seb went on this hike, and I know a lot of you will know Seb. I even know like Isaac in kind of the info space that also was here. I didn't really meet them there because there were so many people, but this was really cool, and it kind of changed a lot of stuff for me. I then started making like, and this is like, you can see the dates here, May 2024, like less than 2 years ago. I was just making like self-improvement YouTube videos, kind of, and I was also working this job in Cambridge where we go on these boats and we take people on tours where I was selling tickets. And this was over the summer that I finished my A-levels. I did okay in my A-levels, but nothing crazy. And I didn't want to go uni, probably similar to what a lot of you guys can relate to. And at this job, if I go back, I made like £500 in a day selling these tickets. It was just commission. And then you also got like obviously like a minimum wage base. I made like £500 in a day. So it was a super busy day. And also there's a lot of Asian tourists. And like my hair that summer was super white because I was spending so much time outside. And I was I'm quite tall, so I was kind of like a lighthouse. All the Asian tourists would always kind of flock to me. So I was pretty good at my job. And then I realized I wanted to get into sales online. I've seen a lot of high ticket sales content. And this is me messaging Val. This is in, September of 2024. So, 18 months ago. You can see like, I booked and I couldn't make the call. And then kind of didn't get back to him because the reason I probably would have paid Val, to be completely honest. But the reason is I landed this first role. You can see the timeline on the tweet. I landed a role with this girl here. Some of you guys may know her. And to be honest, I was really dog shit at first when I started saying. I'm sure you guys were way better than me because you had a lot of like heavy training beforehand. But like within a month or two, I kind of got up to speed and was making like 3K a month in November, December, like after a few months of setting. And this was like cold outreach. I ripped a cold loom. It was super lucky. I got really, really lucky. And I think in business and in life, you do need a little bit of luck. So I think you guys all even being here and choosing to work with Val over maybe one of these other setting coaches that are out there, I wouldn't call it luck, but you guys definitely made the right decision there. Making 2 or 3K a month was like my initial goal when I started out. Maybe like a lot of you, I knew that if I could make 2K a month and just chill in Thailand, like I would be at least fine financially. But I was spewing bullshit like this on Twitter. I had no idea what I was talking about. I was just a setter. So I traveled to Marbella for a bit. And I saw in Marbella a 16-year-old collecting $6,800 PIFs for a done with you consulting offer on like growing coaching businesses. And that really changed like a lot of stuff for me. It completely flipped my perspective. You see it online, like, oh, this 15-year-old did this. Oh, this 17-year-old did this. At the time I was 18. This guy I'm not even sure if he was 15 at the time, like 2-3 years younger than me, was like doing 20K weeks. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm literally sitting here sending texts all day for like 2 or 3K a month. And also I didn't think he was like wildly smart or had anything that I didn't. Like genuinely, he was like kind of like a retard when he wasn't working. He was just like a kid. And so I'm a bit of a retard when I'm not working. So that really like changed my goals. And that's what I'm here to do for you guys. Hopefully be able to really shift your guys' perspectives on what is, of course, like 2, 3, 4K a month is that first step. Everyone wants to hit it. But then kind of my goal changed from that, doing 2K a month and just going to the beach and stuff, to actually building a business that could change a lot for me and my family, like in terms of what you can do with 50K a month or 100K a month. And the people you can impact even on your own team is vastly different to 2 or 3K a month. So that being said, I did continue saying for a bit because I did need cash. Well, not really, but I needed, like, I just wanted to keep going with saying, see where I could take it. Did I think my best day was like £1,100 in a day. I did £5,000 comms in Feb, and then I left the offer. I was super comfortable, but like I said, even as a good setter, and I was like getting quite good. The offer was doing well. I just couldn't put in more hours and make more money. Like I was working like 7 hours a day, probably on the offer, 7, 8 hours a day. And like I couldn't squeeze more out of the offer, and I only had a limited amount of hours to do other stuff. And as much as I told the people around me, like friends and family, that I was doing on my online business, bear in mind, guys, this is a gap year. I was doing a gap year. And if I didn't really get anything done on that gap year, I would have completely like been kind of fucked, basically, because I would have had to go to uni. I'm sure you guys are seeing now, any of you in uni with the job market, with like, I'm hearing about 10,000 graduate jobs for like 900,000 uni graduates. It's pretty cooked either way. I was sending DMs all day, and I recently saw an Alex Hormozy YouTube video where essentially, do I have a pen here? Oh my God, this is insane. Essentially, he was kind of going over the 6 ways to get paid. First one's like, I work, then you pay as we go. You pay, then I work. When X happens, you pay me. And like, I saw this, and I saw this again recently, which is why I put it on the slides, is that I was in the I work, then you pay. Like I was setting, and then when you know, after I've worked, I get paid. In fact, you could argue that it's like commission based, and it's like when X happens, you pay me. But realistically, it's kind of like a job in a way, and it's a great job. It's a great introduction to the info space. But I knew that my job was kind of like a skilled VA could do it eventually. Someone who was well trained could do it, and it was like very replaceable even with AI. Even back then, like I was still scared of AI, and I don't think AI will replace setting anytime soon, especially very good setters. But that threat was like over my head, and I was like, nah, fuck it, I've got to. Oh, what the fuck? What's that? What the fuck? Can I keep going? Okay, nice. I knew I could do more, basically. So and also one thing I thought was like I didn't see myself doing this at 30. Like if you don't see yourself doing something in like 5 to 10 years, you want to obviously transition and grow from it as quickly as possible, and that's still what I'm doing now. So I did a bit of setting coaching. Like I had a few people reaching out to me as I transitioned out of setting, but I realized that acquiring clients for my own setting coaching offer was very difficult when I didn't really know how to scale an info offer. So I was pretty set on like growth up as kind of like the be all and end all vehicle. And in fact, like the year before, even before I got into the setting, I was like saw Eddie Cumberbatch. Some of you guys may know him. I like was trying to like reach out to people, trying to get them to do a school community, stuff like that. But that's still not really like knowing marketing and knowing how to build a proper funnel and sales team and all of that. So I doubled down into closing for a little bit and growth up. And a theme that's going to be recurrent throughout this presentation that I want to give to you guys is always doubling down on your skill set, because it really just can't hurt you in any way. So I landed a closing role with a fluke with this guy. And I can tell you a story, both for that setting role that I landed and for this closing role. I kind of bullshit about my experience. Like I was just so confident that I would be able to do good when I got into the role. I didn't necessarily lie. I mean, I lied a little bit, but like I was just like, you know, expanding the truth, let's say. Because when I started saying, I didn't say I had experience, but I said like, oh yeah, I've done this and that, and this in my sales job. Like I wouldn't say it was like 100% truthful. Either way, I hit 10K a month in April 2025. But I realized even with closing, like with everything, you're still trading time for money. And I actually really didn't like closing. I was pretty good. Like I was closing it super well, but just being on call all day and having to be sat there at desk taking calls, like I really fucking didn't like it. And I remember this day I went skiing like March with my family, but it was like one of the only days where I like had a day off, and like I couldn't make money when I had a day off. And so I never wanted to take a day off because I could only really make money when I was working. But at this time, whilst closing, I still had like a little bit of time. So I was doing outreach for growth up clients. And trust me, guys, like if you're ever starting your own agency or anything like that, outreach is obviously the trenches. It's the hardest part. I was getting ghosted. I was like closing people, and then they would just ghost, or just working with nightmare clients in general that are really small. But the offer that I was working for, this YouTube automation offer that I was closing for, had like a really good lead flow and like terrible funnel. And so like I even just like went through my DMs with the offer owner, and like I see, like I was telling him about VSL changes, typeform changes, whatever. And I was scripting and I was implementing all these backend systems without being paid. I was just doing it because I was like, oh, I'm going to make more money as a closer. But it was allowing me to pick things up and like notice things where I think we could improve. Even though I had like no experience, I just like took things that I'd learned as a setter and now as a closer, and being in the industry a little bit, which is what I think setting is the best for. Like it gives you that really eye-opening perspective. into kind of what goes on, and you can take initiative, and you can kind of use what you learn as a setter, where you're getting paid basically just to learn, to then apply that to like high leverage stuff or start your own thing in the future. Like I said, I took initiative. I took the offer from 30k to 100k a month without being paid an extra penny for the like the funnel that I built, all of that, the back end. We got paid for the deals I closed. So I was basically operating and closing all for just 10%. But eventually got to the point where, because of like we had some better systems in place, there was just too much lead flow for me to handle. So I pitched the owner on managing the entire offer. This was July of 2025, July of last year. We did 150k, built the team, built the dashboards, kind of built all of that, and used that case study to land other growth up clients in the same niche for like 5k plus setup fees based on this July month, which was really, really crazy. And this was the first month where I traveled. I took my mum to Spain on a holiday for her birthday, because I was kind of up at that point. I was making good money, and it was like the first month where I really saw like I was not actually trading time for money. I was like, the team is working, and yes, I was putting a lot of time into it because I wanted them to do well, but I was like walking, and then like I would see deals like coming through the whole day, which was really, really cool. And like I said, actually similar to saying, like we're saying, one like really good opportunity, one really good role will completely change the direction. And for me, that was the case with saying when I started, but it was also the case with operating. So I recently met my client, Leo. I've been working with him for nearly a year now. Like I said, started working with him in April of last year. And it really did change like a lot of the direction for me. So you can see that as like a negative. Oh, I need to get lucky. I need to do this. But you can also see it as a positive. I'm sure Val and every other successful person you see has had like moments where they got like somewhat lucky, and it completely changed their path, their direction, or they influenced something. And it may seem like luck, but as long as if you stay in the game long enough and you work really hard, luck kind of finds you. And then after this, I ran a webinar for this client in August. I learned from someone called Charlie McCormack. I'm sure many of you guys are familiar with him. It was kind of weird at the time. We were both kind of learning a lot about webinars. He was obviously way more experienced than me, but the webinar was pretty crazy. We did a 50k day. This is a message from a closer. In 3 days, we did 108k, and this is after fan basis fees. We ended up doing like 120k in 72 hours, and the offer did 260. Like this is 250k through fan basis, and then like we had 10k more through other processes in that month of August. I took only 10%, and I say only because like I'm telling you right now, this offer owner this month did basically nothing except run the webinar here, and I had built out like everything on the back end. I was like, I could only work with this client because it was basically a full-time job having to do all of this, but obviously I got paid out super well. But at the same time, because I was running a one-man show, I still wasn't running a business. It almost felt similar to how it was as a sales rep. So any of you guys, when you do kind of go out of saying into something else, remember like that whatever you go into, you really want to have the intention to, yes, Labib, bro. Let's hear it.
No, my bad, bro. It's by accident. Sorry.
Oh, wait, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, so when you are like, whenever you go into your own thing, always go in with the end goal in mind. Here I was just kind of like walking through. I didn't really have any direction, any guidance of like, oh, should I be hiring? Like I'd run a really good webinar. Should I use that and just do like a webinar agency, or like, is that kind of cooked? Like I had no idea. So like even this tweet from August 1st, I think I was feeling the same way for like a few months of like, I was just like there were some opportunities, but I really wanted to turn them down, focus on building like SOPs and different systems, like stacking also more skills. Like these are stuff that I was kind of learning but wasn't very good at. And now ads, especially like since then, even like this was a webinar we ran in November. I was like still learning. I've still like literally in the last 2 months, and I'm sure everyone here like kind of sees how much they grow in the past like 1 month, 2 months. It's been insane. Like the growth that we've had even as a team in my agency. Like we went from not really having like super amount of experience with ads. We've run some profitable small campaigns to launching a client literally from basically scratch, from like he had the offer in place, but basically no organic, like 100 followers to like 100k in 30 days, which is really cool. So I'm going to have a YouTube video on that soon. And really like the takeaway here is that every single skill makes you more valuable in the market. So I can charge thousands for SOPs. I can charge like big setup fees because I've generated the skills and the client results to do that. The reason why you guys as setters can't, get like a 5K PIF or a 10K PIF, whatever, for yourself, is because you just aren't at that point with your skills or what you've done to do that. Like, sounds pretty simple, but it didn't really click in my head back then. I was like, oh, I'm working really hard as a setter, but like I didn't really, I couldn't really go to that next level without learning more skills, like, or without, you know, doing something different than what I was currently doing. So I built a lean team, and this is something I'm still like doing and still kind of struggling with, finding the right people to help me fulfill for clients. I think Val, who's running, I think who has way more people like across both of his teams than me, will tell you as well, like really like at a certain point, business, I think I've heard this from other people, like it's just finding like the right talent. So that's been really, really important. And 8 months after quitting saying, that was in February or March of last year, like a year ago, in November of 2025, I hit a 50K cash month with the agency. And I dedicated like a lot of time to building a lot of content and building out SOPs, because that was so like something I'd liked. Like I said, like when you do something good for a client, even when you're setting or even when you're closing, like building out like a knowledge base of what you know, and it's so easy to do with AI nowadays that you can then apply to other things. Like, for example, as I said, so you can, if you work in a certain niche, let's say you work with sales coach, let's say you're setting for a sales coach, and you kind of have learned a lot about what it like specifics about setting for a sales coach, making that in some sort of like document, or you know, just documenting that knowledge in some sort of way so that it can be applied. Like you could then start some sort of agency where you help, you know, maybe not saying management agency, but you could start some sort of business where specifically with sales coaches, you're helping them and you're offering like consulting, or you're offering some sort of service to them with the experience and with the case study that you have as a setter. So yeah, and then also content is a huge thing. I really like only really started gearing up on YouTube like in over summer, and only really started gearing up on Instagram like a month ago. And so that's like one of my biggest regrets, is not posting content sooner, because I can't imagine how much more opportunities and how further I would have gone had I done that. And so like in March 26th, which is now, I was writing this, like we're on track for a really big record month with the agency. And I also have like a consulting client. So I kind of like have a hybrid model where I have done for you for like the best coaches, the people with the established brands. And I'll show you a few clients here. And I also have like a done with you, for example. I've taken on coaches in just a consulting offer because I have all the SOPs laid out. It's kind of like they're already there and I just do calls. And so it's a really good way to kind of monetize the whole thing. And it's the only reason I've really been able to hit like big months, is like most of it's come from the done for you, but there has been like, I haven't let any cash slip through the cracks in terms of the done with you. So that's kind of my story. Hope that kind of sets the scene. Now I'm going to go through some kind of lessons and stuff with what you guys specifically can take away from it for yourselves. So the first thing is like identity. I'm sure you've heard people talk about this a lot. I'm sure Val talks about this a lot. But you really like have to become the type of person who's making X amount of money. It can be 10K a month, it can be 20K a month. For me, like a very big goal was 50K a month, and now it's going to be 100K, whatever. You also have to have like really big reasons for why that number. Like for me, a huge driver is this year I want to buy my own house. Like family is super important to me. And if you don't have like a true reason, like if you just say, oh, I want to make 20K a month just for the sake of making 20K a month, if you don't already have a reason, that's going to be like really much more difficult than if you have like something that gets you out of bed every morning, making you want to do it. And really, I just had to believe it was possible as well, because when I was setting, like I said, I saw this when I was tripping my bay, I saw this 16-year-old, and I was like how like this, it didn't compute in my brain that it was possible. Because I think everyone, like you go through the schooling system, even before you get into setting, you're like, this doesn't seem fucking real. This doesn't seem possible. This seems like some sort of scam. And you really just have to believe that you can do it, because no one else is going to do it for you as well. Like I realized like opportunities don't just fall on your plate. Like they can, and that's great, but you still have to act on them. So you really have to believe and become the type of person for it to even have a chance of start happening. And if you act like it was already happening, if I was acting, you know, if let's say me at 50K a month, would I, like, for example, when I was closing, would I be still closing at 50K a month? Unless I was like one of the best closers in the world and one of the best opportunities in the world? No. So I very quickly looked to separate myself from that situation. And like every single person is still battling between their like current self and the version of themselves that they want to be. Like it happens at every single level in business. Like obviously I'm still battling with it now. And if you don't change your identity at like the core level, old habits and all of that, and the kind of that voice in the back of your head where it's like, you kind of, like, I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, like kind of old habits and old things that you do from kind of the past version of yourself, let's say, or the current version of yourself, can even stop you, like, you might get an opportunity, and if you haven't done the internal work on your identity, you'll probably end up like turning it down. Or like I've seen it happen with people where there is huge opportunities on the table for them, and I'm like, why didn't you pursue that? Why didn't you do that? And a lot of the time it's because they're comfortable with where they are. Like I've seen people who have been closing for like 2 years. I actually spoke to a guy at the event that I met Val at in Ireland, who had been closing for like 3 years. He'd worked with some big offers, and I was like, why didn't you take this opportunity? Why aren't you doing this? Why haven't you started this? And it was like, sometimes because you view yourself as a closer, and if you view yourself as that type of person, or whatever income level you're at, whatever you're doing now, you will self-sabotage. And to be able to like go to the next version of yourself, next level of income, every single time, you're going to have to suffer at least a little, and go through some resistance. You don't have to like frame it as suffering. You probably want to frame it as something else, but there will be resistance inevitably. And you know, you've already invested in working with Val, which is very painful. Like I remember the first like programs and high ticket I bought, it was like very, it gives you a kick up the ass. But if you want to scale, you're going to have to keep going through, you know, pain and uncomfortable, not only decisions in terms of investing in yourself, but also in terms of like getting up and doing fucking difficult work, you know, learning stuff that you haven't learned before, that is completely new. And that never ends if you want to scale. Like I'm sure all of you guys here have huge goals, like, you know, 10K a month, 20K a month. But going through that difficulty is like kind of the price of success. If not, everyone would do it. If not, it would be easy. And like I say, I know people who've worked to set for like 3 or 4 years. In my opinion, like I set for 6 months, and I was like going on too long. So if you've been making money as a set for like 6 months, unless there's really big room for growth in the offer that you're in, which I think can be a positive thing, you should always be looking to like improve. And even whilst you're setting, like you should be like, you know, there's so like, I didn't pay for a mentor for setting. I probably should have. I didn't pay for a mentor for closing. But with closing, I just learned from YouTube. Like there are infinite numbers of cool recordings and stuff. There's so much you can learn on YouTube. So even if you are a setter now, like depending on where you want to go, and that's completely up to you, you should be just learning and consuming as much as possible in terms of content that's out there. I think that's something that I've always really done. I've always been like big on content consumption and learning, and I still am. And that's been like huge for me. Also, another thing on the identity level that some of you guys may have heard of, may have seen, is an Alchemy of Self document. This is like Sam Ovens, for those who don't know. He owns School Now. But an Alchemy of Self is like kind of like you want to be transforming yourself at the fundamental level, at the level of your beliefs. And I'm going to show you some really like, it's kind of woo, but it's kind of crazy. Like I have a document that I wrote, I have it from like a year ago and 2 years ago, and you kind of see what I've written. And it's actually crazy to see like the correlation of where I am now. And I think the main thing I want to highlight in the definition of the word alchemy here is like the seemingly magical process of transformation, creation, or combination. And we can really just focus on the 4 words here: magical process of transformation, where it's like you truly like craft the character that you want to. Can I go back to a pen? Oh no, how do I go back to a pen? You kind of like craft the character that you want to become. I'll just use it at the bottom here. And so essentially what an alchemy of self helps you do, and for those of you who have read Atomic Habits, you might recognize this graph, but it really restructures your identity here at this base level. And your identity will then reflect your actions and your processes, because kind of all action really stems from your beliefs about yourself. You know, if I believed I was a serial killer, and that was me, then my actions would probably reflect that. Whereas if I believed truly that I was someone who just made, you know, a lot of money, then my actions would probably reflect someone who did that, and that would result in my outcomes. For example, if you right now identify, I'm going to use a setting example, if you just identify solely as a setter, and it's like, I'm an appointment setter, it's going to be very difficult for you long term unless you change that identity at a fundamental level to get out of that and change that. For example, like the biggest example I give is like, if you are smoking, or if you're a smoker, whatever, and you're trying to quit, and you say, no, thanks, I'm not a smoker, obviously that is going to give you way more likelihood of being able to quit smoking because at the identity level, you don't identify as a smoker. Whereas at the identity level, this person, just from their language patterns, is saying, no, thanks, I'm trying to quit. That person will probably then obviously relapse because that their identity doesn't align with someone who doesn't smoke. When they're offered a cigarette, you know, I'm trying to quit, like, oh, they'll like probably end up having a cigarette. And then in terms of their actions, it will lead to them smoking. In terms of the outcome, it's like this person's probably like dying early, or is in worse health than this person. So like health outcomes, financial outcomes, they all stem from like a belief and identity level. And the example I had for myself was like, especially even in your language patterns, like the way you speak. If I said to people, like, if I said to this client, this first client I landed, like, oh, I'm looking to become an operator and build a huge agency doing like multi six figures a year. If I said that to him and I'm saying like, I'm looking, or I'm looking to do this, I want to do this, it's very different to saying like, oh no, I am this person already. I view myself as that person, and it's just time, like the elapse of time before it actually becomes reality, because I believe it, and then my actions stem from it, and through actions, like everything will stem through an action. No one's gonna like drop it on a silver plate. For a long time, I just thought, yeah, things will work out. I don't really have to do anything, but you just like no one else is moving the needle for you. So yeah, and this is a document that I showed you guys. So this is one that I wrote in May 2024, where I was like, I wrote like, oh, I want to. This is why I was still in sixth form. So I want to make 5K a month in 1 year's time. I was like, 5K a month. Yeah, that's going to be good. And by the way, guys, this number seems so outrageous. Like I was like nervous to write this down. I said this before, like this, like 5K a month when you're making no money, like this sound like no one had ever paid me any sort of money online. I was like, how the fuck is this going to happen? But it did happen. And then in June of 2025, can I zoom in here? Oh, I can. Look at this. On this document, I'll send you guys a copy afterwards of like the Alchemy of Self document from Sam Owens, but how he does it, I just copied how he structured it. Is like you kind of tell your own story, and then you kind of put the next parts of the story that haven't happened yet, like step by step, right? So I remember I was working this 9 to 5, got into setting with like this cold outbound loom. I don't know why I've got this photo, when I was closing. I was pretty bored closing. And then actually what I haven't mentioned in this is I did a bit of setting management whilst I was closing. But like this is where I was in like that transitionary period, and in June, like this is where I first pitched Growth Op. I wanted to make 30K a month and beyond, like as a Growth Op, basically is what I meant by this. I want to have a strong niche personal brand. This hasn't really happened, but I would say I have like a pretty niche personal brand, and I'm kind of on the way to this. 50K a month is like someone who has like a hybrid offer in terms of done for you, like agency offer, and then a done with you kind of like consulting offer. Like I've done this, so I've done this. I would say the niche brand is there, but the 5,000 followers isn't. I will. And then buy my house and kind of retire them is kind of on the way, and buying the house will probably be done end of this year, like provided all things go well. And like I wrote this, how do I go back to presenting? I wrote this like 9 months ago, and it's kind of like, and there is stuff on this document that I wouldn't really share like publicly. There's like, it's weird. And basically what I did is I kind of read the document. I say I tried to read it every day, but I didn't. Like, I won't lie to you guys. I read it most days. I didn't feel like, by needy, I mean, I didn't like, you have to like, you can't pedestalize goals. And I think I go into this. I just focused on the inputs that would lead to these outcomes. Because at the end of the day, Val actually watched your video on goal setting. It was really amazing, like really, really interesting, really, really insightful. Because no amount of money really will make you happy if you don't enjoy the actual process of doing what you're doing. If you don't, some things just aren't for me. I realize like closing, I don't really like closing for other people. I don't mind closing if it's my own offer, or if it's, just having a conversation with someone about how like I can work with them. But I knew that even if I was making 100K a month, I just probably wouldn't be that happy doing that. So you have to enjoy the process of that kind of becoming, as difficult as it sometimes can be. So yeah, I'll send a link to a video you can use to make a document like the Alchemy of Self one after this call, that I used. Is like super simple, but I highly, highly recommend it if you've never done it. And like I say, with all goals, you cannot pedestalize landing clients. Like for example, the client we signed yesterday, like on a big set, I feel like, if you'd have told me a year ago where I was like making like half, like maybe that in a whole month of like pure grind of setting and closing, that someone would wire me that money and my team would just get to work, I would have been like, what the fuck's going on here? But it was kind of like, if it becomes normal, if you don't pedestalize a client or a goal, and you're not needy towards it, it's like with girls. Like if you just start chasing a girl, like it's just like a big red flag, a big put off. So making sure that you aren't chasing, but you're kind of attracting through your actions is really, really important. Umar, bro, no worries. I think Val will obviously drop the recording if you want to catch the rest, but I'll be going into like a little bit more technical stuff on operating, or just kind of like doing some Q&A. Yeah, so you need to feel normal, because if you're sitting here watching me right now, like you guys don't know me, you don't have much trust built with me, whatever. But I want you guys to really know that I'm not in any way, shape, or form more special than you. It's kind of like how I viewed this guy in Marbella when I went there for the first time. And if you're thinking like, oh, I could never do that, you need to stop thinking like that, because genuinely through hard work and through like perseverance, like anything is possible. It's like sound like motivational slot, but like genuinely don't think that anything is off limits for you in terms of what you can do. So yeah, is there any questions so far? Because I've been talking for a while. Yeah, feel free to shout out, guys, before we go over some more technical stuff that I've kind of picked up that might be useful. Yes, James, bro.
Hey man, so I've got a few questions and note down. All right. So basically, my goal is to become a full-time closer. And then since what you have said, like you found like closing full-time to become a bit depressing. So do you think like setting closing as the end goal is like not a decent enough goal, since you said it's still trading time for money on the scale of like Alex Omozi said there?
Not really. I think it depends on the type of person you are. A lot of people really enjoy closing. I think it was just personally, I wasn't like the biggest fan. Maybe it was the type of people I didn't really enjoy B2C that much, because I was kind of speaking to like,
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't really enjoy it. I'm not saying to like, I'm not going to tell you, okay, go and do this. But I think what you will realize, and what even my feedback I've got from setters who become closers, is that actually, no, this is something I've heard very, very consistently, is like closing is like setting, but just with you make double the money. You're a bit more tied to like a camera and obviously like a desk. You can't just walk around on your phone taking closing calls.
Okay.
But you are still trading time for money at the end of the day. And it is a great skill set. Like, I think what you'll realize, James, is that you should go into it 100% if that's where you want to go. But what you'll find is that there'll be another level. You can't think of closing as an end goal. Like, you really can't. It's just the same as we're saying. And I think you kind of get, with all of this, guys, as long as you're always progressing towards the next goal, you will kind of intuitively feel when things are out of place. But it's always making sure that you are uncomfortable with where you are now in some sort of form to be able to keep moving forward. But I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. I got a few more. Sorry for people who
yes, no worries. Keep going.
Like, do you think be able to, okay, so I can be setting like full-time closing as my end goal for me to be able to like achieve that next level, right? That's a suggestion you give.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. What's your goal though?
Like just full-time closing, because I never actually made any proper money online. Because if I was able to show like give me like a bit of proof of money, so I would actually think this is real to me, then I would be able to.
Trust me, it's real. Like, that's what I mean. Like in terms of you have to like really, like you have to see people that are actually doing it and be exposed to that. And if you're in person, like if you ever get the chance to go to an event in person with anyone in the online business space, like I know A Players and James Gallagher is like running some events in Europe. Like, you can get like a £20 Ryanair flight. Probably one of the best things you'll ever do in terms of growing as a person. So yeah, but 100%, you can like, it depends what your goals are. But if your goal is like to make first online money, you can do it with setting, you can do it with closing, 100%.
But then do you believe like achieve like 20K plus, 20K plus with closing would be difficult to have a good life outside of work?
Yeah, it depends, like kind of what you consider a good life. On a really good offer and as a very good closer, I've heard of closers who make 20K a month, whatever, with like 3-4 calls a day. If you're really good and you're selling super high ticket, no doubt. But it does, like, I think everyone also glamorizes everything they do. Like, I could glamorize like what I do. I'm very biased towards doing what I do, but there's also a load of headache and a load of stress that comes with it. And with closing,
and then the last question is like, you said 6 months setting should be the absolute maximum. And so what would your journey look like if you were able to do it again? Like ideally in your head,
what would I do differently?
If right now, at your spot right now, you're making £50 a month, and if you go back from the very beginning, you have no clue what you're doing, what would you do?
When I had no clue, I was so clueless. I actually went through like the Twitter DMs I had with Val, and I put some screenshots for like I was so clueless. I could just see from how it's told. What would I do differently? So I would definitely still start with setting. I would definitely, I wasn't sure about how much. I think I would just like do it for less time. Same with closing. I even closed for 2 months, and I think that was too long. I would just close for like a week or 2 weeks just to, because I just personally didn't like it. But it's up to you guys.
Okay.
I would go setting closing, and I'm actually going to go into this in terms of like scaling. I'm obviously biased towards operating, but any sort of agency. I'm going to go into this, but like you need to lean into what you're good at. Like let's say you really love coaching people on closing. You could obviously start your own offer. That's like a thing a lot of people are doing nowadays, of course. But you could be like, you could like see you work in these info businesses, and you're like, I really enjoy the content side of things. I want to start a content offer. I want to start like an agency offer that focuses on content, or like Val and Teddy have done like an agency offer that focuses on setting management. Like you do have to lean into what you enjoy and what you're good at. For me personally, I like marketing more than I like sales. It's something I've realized as well. Even though I started as a sales rep, some people love sales. I'm pretty creative. I like writing and kind of selling people. It's like I don't mind it, but like I prefer that. So you really also have to lean into what you're good at as you scale. So for me, it's like
basically as you do setting, closing, like just do everything, and then you eventually find something you like, and then you just double down on that.
Yeah, I would eventually scale to some sort of agency vehicle. Or service-based business. You could obviously go into like your own info business based on what you've learned here, but I think an agency-based like vehicle is probably the number one to keep you growing as a person and have the scalability.
That's right. Thank you very much for that.
No worries, bro. Thank you. We're going to do like a full Q&A at the end, by the way. There's still like probably like 20 more slides I can go through, but yes, bro, Val, what's up? And Hassan and Ihab. Shit.
It's for you, Hassan. I'm going first, bro. How did you time your transitions? Was it that you were setting a target? Were you just getting like sick of something and saying it's time to transition? Were you like tracking the level of discomfort you had and you're like, I feel pretty comfortable, let me pivot? Was it a thought process that came up? So I think that's something I've struggled with a lot, and a lot of people I know have too.
That's a really good question. So I think it comes into multiple things. Some of it is like intuition and your own feelings about what you're doing. Like you can get very sick of something. And I really think you should, like, I'm very big on just listening to how you feel. I know that everyone says, don't care about your feelings, whatever, don't listen to them. But I think you often notice when things are becoming different, but it's also very easy to become very comfortable once you've got to a certain level. So also, like you said, setting a certain goal. So for me, it was like 5K a month as a setter, 10K a month as a closer. I hit both of those. And then next month I was out. And I think that kind of threshold, putting that threshold on myself to say like, at this point, you'll be doing this, putting that kind of accountability there also is really, really good. Also, it's also timing. Like for me, a lot of like, it was just timing outside of like what I had planned. So for example, this peak month that I did as a setter, 5K GBP, the offer started going like downhill. Lead flow was like super cooked and stuff like that. So it was like kind of very good timing for me to transition out. And then same with the closing. I was getting to the point where I had a full calendar, and this offer needed someone to come in and manage a team and grow a team. And it was just also very good like timing apart from that. So like I said, there's always luck that plays into it, but that's kind of my process. I would have a goal, but also like find the right time, because sometimes opportunities will come your way. If you're posting on content and stuff, like you'll probably realize that opportunities come your way, and then there's a way to do things kind of intuitively. Have you found the same?
I found that for about 8 months, I didn't set any targets. And that's when things kind of went sideways. I didn't set any targets for myself, and I didn't set any targets for teams. And I learned things in a really interesting way, because I would have done it at the beginning, but I would have never had a justification period. And now it's like I'm coming around and I'm starting to realize that is what changes everything. It's what I've reapplied for myself, for my businesses. It's how I kind of set targets now too, because I know you saw that video. So it's like, I think that's something I very much struggle with. And I think I'm noticing a lot of people struggle with it too on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, it's
so important to have the direction of where you're going and commit to it, and just like always, no matter where kind of the path takes you, also like kind of redirect to like that compass point. Yes, Hassan, bro. Oh, we got so many questions. No, I need to keep going. Okay, well, I'll do Hassan, and then we'll do like a full Q&A at the end. I got some more stuff.
Yo, what's good, Louis? Huge fan. Now, what I wanted to ask is, when you started out in the space, obviously you've mentioned you didn't have a mentor to help you with the setting and closing side of things. With that in mind, did you have like a lot of conviction starting out in the space that you'd succeed? And if so, where did that level of conviction come from?
I don't know where it came from, but I was like, is sending texts at the end of the day. I was like, this can't be that difficult. Like genuinely, I was just like, I'm just gonna learn this. Like, there's no way. I've always like in school, I've always been very like I always found school very easy in terms of like picking up new things, like getting good grades without really doing much work. And so I just maybe it came from there. Maybe it just came from like I don't know how I grew up, but I was just very, very confident. But actually going into the agency model as well, I was like, what is the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is I'm shit and I get fired or it doesn't work. And I can just take that as a lesson. Literally, that's the worst that can happen. So that's where kind of that confidence came from. Even with closing, it was like I was, kind of bullshit that I had closing experience when I didn't, basically. And it was like worst case that can happen is like they think I'm shit and they fire me and I'm in no worse position. And I think a lot of people have like, you don't want to get judged. You don't want to fail. Like it's natural as a human to not want to do that. And even like posting content, it holds you accountable to some degree. I think that's why I put it off for so long. Like I didn't want to be held accountable to like things I'd said and everything like that. But yeah, I think you have to have like that conviction. And to be honest, having a mentor gives you so much more conviction in any space. Like especially like in the agency model, if I had someone like telling me, do this, do that, probably would have moved a lot quicker. But then also in some cases, following your own gut. Like I'm very big on making like gut-based and feeling-based decisions on what feels right for you. Like a lot of people just feel that they're at a certain point with saying, we're at a certain point with closing, we're at a certain point with where they are, where it just is uncomfortable. And if you're someone that kind of biases towards growth and always wants to grow and always wants to keep like growing as a person, then it's going to happen pretty quickly. But yeah,
So,
sorry for the yappy answer.
No, that was a good answer. That was a good answer. Thank you.
All right, guys, I'm going to run through like 20 more slides, go through some technical agency stuff, operating stuff, and then like we'll do a full Q&A. I can even walk you through some of the stuff we're currently doing for those who are curious, or just answer like personal questions as well. But yeah, like I say, I'm biased towards operating, but the agency model, like I said on this previous slide with the drawing that I made, is like any sort of service-based business is going to be higher leverage than working inside another business as a sales rep. That's, I think, pretty factual. And once, like I'm sure with Val with his setting management agency, me with my operating agency, there are systems and SOPs, and when you're actually running a business, you put these things into place so that it runs without you. Because as a sales rep, you're trading time for money. But really, really difficult for me was being able to like not do work, see my team do things. Like I wasn't having to do things, and it was like things. The needle was still moving forward. So that's like the cool part of eventually scaling to the agency model, but it is also like the hard part. So obviously I'm collecting like rev share payments, and also like why I think the agency model, especially like a rev share model that's like becoming very popular nowadays compared to like the standard like SMMA where you target like a dentist and you charge like 2K a month retainer, and why it's also I think better than selling info in some ways. Like info is great, like selling your own coaching and getting like a 5K piff is so cool. Like I think it's cool, but it always requires you to be on the hamster wheel of signing new clients unless you have like a very good kind of offer and lifetime value where it's like very hands-on coaching where you just have people who are on like a recurring payment and you have like a really high renewal rate. But selling your coaching will always require kind of new piffs, whereas with the rev share model, like in any sort of way, even with a content agency, even like with a management agency, you want to be on some sort of revenue share because it allows you to have clients that pay you like over and over again. Retainer is really cool as well. Like retainer can really work well with this. But your lifetime value can be like 30K, 50K, 100K with some clients like I have. And that just allows you to not have to worry about signing clients like so much, because you know that with very few clients, you can still make a lot of money, and then your business kind of grows from referrals. So it's like, for example, with operating, I would say like the 4 skill sets, obviously like funnels and kind of copywriting, I would say, then kind of traffic. So whether that be ads or organic, like for example, if you are really tapped in with organic content, like biasing, if you're going to go into an agency model, biasing it towards that. For us, like we're really going super heavy on ads. Like I've invested a lot into like learning that sort of stuff. So that's where we're going. Then also, of course, sales management. And something I say is like, you guys as people who have seen how closers kind of operate, you see the call recordings, whatever, you can go to any kind of business that requires setters and closers and have a huge background knowledge on that already, where it gives you like a starting point. So you guys already know how to set. So incorporating that in some way, like when I first started out, the first people I was reaching out to, and I'll get into this in some specific examples, I was using the experience that I had as a setter as a really big leverage point to land like my first clients and use that. And then also like tracking and back end stuff. I have a friend, Freddie, who helped me with a lot of this, but like you can like borrow and take different skills and then combine them into whatever you want to do. And like in terms of how you can like start doing it, the main thing like I would say as a takeaway is like initiative as well, seeing things, not being scared to pursue opportunities, and also like in your current setting role, like you're in an amazing position, provide more value than you're being paid for. Look to, you know, look where you can improve the offer, look where you can improve things, because that's what I was doing. And I could have been very comfortable as a closer. Even my client told me this, I could have been very comfortable as a closer, making, you know, 5-10K a month there and not doing anything, not taking the initiative and just kind of letting the offer slip by. But I went and did more stuff. Second thing, another thing that I really learned is like signing clients and then learning how to fulfill. And this kind of comes from the confidence point, Hassan, that you mentioned. Like with closing, I had never closed, and I kind of learned how to fulfill after I got the job. Same with webinars. I pitched my client a webinar. I had no fucking clue how to run a webinar. I kid you not, guys. I was so clueless. I had no idea what I was doing. And this is literally like 8 or 9 months ago. And I paid someone, Charlie in my case, to learn. And it went super well. Like it was like the first webinar we ever did was gas. So don't be scared to pitch something that you don't know how to do and then pay and learn how to do it, because like there are people that can teach you in any situation. And if you want to, I don't know what's coming next here, guys. It's gonna be interesting. If you want to make a business work when transitioning out, saying, yeah, you're gonna have to go through the outreach trenches, no matter what, in terms of any agency, like it is, you're gonna have to do all of these 3 things, like go through the outreach trenches, build some sort of brand, start building your network. Because I go into it, but this is kind of the acquisition triangle for growth, in my opinion. I've never seen anyone kind of talk about this, but this is like the only ways I've ever signed clients. Number 1 is through like outbound. And what I'm seeing more and more now is like custom and tailoring things with a number of like growth ops always out there. Remembering that you're going into a business partnership, if you're going through, like this is purely for the rev share model. I'm biased towards this one, is what I know. I'm not going to talk about something I don't know. But it is huge in terms of the fact that you're going into a business partnership being very tailored if you are going to be doing outreach. Yes, you can't, like evergreen outreach can work, but then remembering after someone's seen an evergreen outreach to be very tailored and to make sure that you're always structuring deals in a business partnership, and you're negotiating and you're making sure you're not shooting yourself in the foot whilst doing that. And this kind of acquisition triangle, the reason it's kind of like a triangle is everything is like tying into each other, because my outreach, I have signed, I don't know how many clients from outreach, but every single one will have consumed content from my YouTube channel before buying with me. And the same with like referrals. They will all have consumed content from my brand when I get referrals before like working with us as a team. And even if you have like a big network and you're doing outbound and you have a lot of mutuals with a person, that can hugely positive impact things. So all 3 of the, like you want to be doing all 3. Like you couldn't obviously bias more towards one of them, but all 3 should be like, if you guys are like looking to land clients, like this is the biggest advice I can give. You have to be doing all 3. Like I have gotten so many referrals through my network from setters, closest people I know for deals. I've gotten inbounds obviously from content and case studies, and outbound has like kind of served both as well as like a continuous way of growing. But yeah, that's big advice on acquisition, and content is heavily slept on. I slept on it for a very long time. Like this is something that's obvious looking back on, but right now a lot of you guys probably aren't posting, you're just putting it off to the next day. Because even as sales reps, I really think you should be documenting your journey and lessons you're learning as you go. And the way I thought about the way that shifted my perspective on like content in general for me, like especially posting a lot of like more on Reels and Instagram, is that if I was making like 250K a month, 500K a month, whatever, like a crazy big goal, that version of myself would probably be making content. So why am I not doing it now? So that really pushed me. And literally the first 9 YouTube videos on this YouTube channel, like if you go to my channel, you search up and you scroll down, there is like some case study videos, a few different videos, and like none of them had more than like 1,000 views, probably like a couple hundred views. Genuinely made me 50K in setup fees and consulting deals, whether that be like someone heard my name, checked out my YouTube channel, then was interested in buying. Someone found the video organically, was interested in buying. Someone, you know, who I outreached to before the call with them, I sent them a YouTube video that made them way more eager to work with me. Was absolutely huge. So like I say, content really, really important. And remember that as an agency owner, you're going to be climbing a ladder. So I'm just going to keep this brief because I know we're kind of running short on time and I've been yapping a lot, but this is my first client. I'm still on quite a small rev share with him for the amount of money that we're making. I've made him 1.5 mil. at this point, and of course I've taken a good share for myself. But based on this, I signed this client up front. I sent another YouTube automation client that I have an NDA with up front. I got an inbound DM from like Victor Katrina, who's super big, who is interested in working with us. I don't know how he found me, maybe through a friend of a friend. In the end, I actually turned this offer down. He came inbound, and because of like how many clients we're working with at the moment, like my agency is kind of at capacity, and kind of the structure of the deal wasn't that good. I actually saw James Gallagher, like, this guy's now looking for someone else. But like I kind of turned that deal down. I tried to obviously refer it to some people I know, but he was having none of it. It was kind of pretty pissed at me. And then, like, for example, this is a client that I mentioned, we scaled to 100K a month with just ads with 100 followers. He then referred me this guy who paid me yesterday 6K, and he has like more of an organic audience, similar niche. So it's like you're always gonna be climbing a client ladder. You're gonna start off with dog shit clients, same with saying, gonna start off with dog shit clients, and then you're gonna be able to work with better and better clients as you get better and better case studies. It's the same for any service-based business, not necessarily growth up only. I'm sure, like I said, you can lean into what you're good at. If you're really good at content, if you really enjoy one part, lean into that, start your agency there. But I think all roads, unless you want to be very specialized and just be specialized, will lead to like a full stack operation, which is what I do. Like, I've learned from sales, I learned the tracking, we learned the ads, we kind of put the team together to do that. But for example, with Valentelli, I'm sure with their agency, when they start out, they were working with some pretty annoying clients and pretty low level clients, maybe not. And then as they got more case sizes, as they got more results, they worked with better and better clients. And I call it like climbing the ladder. You climb the client ladder in terms of, now I always turn down an opportunity. Like, I'm saying no a lot more than I say yes. And it's something that I've had to learn to do as well. And one of the things, like, I really truly believe that there is a blue ocean when it comes to people who understand the info game, who just learn a few more skills. And setting is like such a good starting point. You're in an amazing community here. Like, the people in here, like 70, 80 people in Setters Academy, like, that's a crazy good network and starting point. And with a few more skills and leaning into what you're good at, you can really crush it with some sort of like service-based model. And I know, like, in terms of just growth operating specifically, people are seeing Eman like promote it heavily. He obviously did his challenge funnel and bringing a lot of new people into the market. Some people view that as a bad thing. I think I view it as a really, really good thing, because there's a lot of bad operators on the market. And, you know, these creators are getting a lot of DMs, but are they actually getting DMs from people they know, like, who know what they're doing? Not really, not from what I've seen. I think, like, this guy I spoke to yesterday who paid our setup fee, like, there was like, he hadn't got anyone like competent reach out to him. So, and obviously you have to climb the ladder, you have to get the experience, you have to work with some smaller people first. But if you're actually really, really good at what you do, you have way too many clients. Like, we're having to turn down people now, and you'll make a load of money, and it can happen way quicker than you think. Like, a year ago, like I said, I was still setting. And really, like, my final message before we go into Q&A, guys, is that you can do anything, but you have to have more leverage, because after a certain time period, setting is the most goated shit in the world for getting into the space. But after like a year, 6 months, a year, 2 years, it's like, it's trenches. I don't care what anyone has to say on that. So yeah, guys, that's kind of me. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, I'm here. YouTube, same thing. Just search my name, Louis Abel, and then let's do a Q&A. So I know we had some questions before, a few people with their hands up. So if you guys would literally want to see client work, I can show some stuff with clients, any mindset stuff, ad stuff. I didn't really include anything technical on ads. Any personal advice based on your situation as well, then just shout out and I'll be happy to help, or put your hand up, whatever. And if not, no worries.
Raise your hand if you got any questions, boys.
Yes, we got two already. Okay, Ihab, you were first, bro.
Thank you for the presentation, by the way, man. That's good.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, for my question is, like, throughout like your journey from going like from a setter to closer to growth up, what were like the big mindset shifts that you...
The big mindset shifts. I got the question. Yeah. The big mindset shifts. I feel like the biggest one was like actually seeing other people do it and actually realizing, you know, they're not more special than me. I swear to God, guys, I'm living with one of my friends, kind of clients, Oscar, here in New Zealand, for a month. Like, we are retarded. We are so stupid. Like, we are not in any way special, smart. And I saw that, and it was like, you know, if other people are doing this, why can't I? I think there are exceptions. Like, you see Elon Musk, SpaceX is about to like go like IPO and be probably valued, and he's going to be a trillionaire. I don't think anyone can do that. But in the grand scheme of things, also you want to not pedestalize, and I really normalized, like, 50K a month is not like, it's not crazy, it isn't, I don't think it's like a crazy amount. I think it's a lot of money, of course. Like I come from like a family that never made more than like 2.5K in a month, like with my parents. So it is of course a lot of money, but you can't see it that way. And I didn't see it that way because I saw people who were genuinely like, I just thought that you cannot be like smarter than me. You just had like more time, and with work that I can do, I can catch up to you. And I think everyone in here, you should be like wanting to catch up, like see me and don't see me. Like you have to also. I also like made of it. Make villains. You see other people like, what the fuck? This guy's doing more than me. It's like competition. That's also a big mindset shift I had.
No, thank you.
Yeah. No worries, bro. Yes, Mr. Spike, Mr. Jones. Sorry, Mr.
How did you find those like next things to move on to from setting into closing and then into what you do now?
To be honest, like one huge thing was actually like YouTube. I just saw a lot of people just doing what like explaining their businesses, and I was like, holy shit, like that sounds interesting. Some people were talking about, content agency, and I was like, does that really interest me? It was like some of the stuff, and I just kind of like, I just consumed a lot of content. Like even you guys being on this call, hopefully something I've said here will have triggered something in your brain by the way I've said it. And then maybe not today, but maybe in a month's time, maybe in 2 months' time, it will, you'll have seen this and you'll be like, oh, I remember like hearing that, and you can use it and you can apply it in a use case. So for me, it was like consuming, obviously don't like doom scroll or whatever, but like consciously consume content, consciously think and really set the direction that you want to do based on what you think you'd enjoy. And then you'll adjust. Like no one sets out with a crazy grand plan. Like I didn't set out in the space thinking, oh, I'm going to go setter, closer, growth. Or no. It depends on the opportunities that come your way, what I enjoyed. Like for example, before I even started saying I wanted to do growth up, I was like, I had no idea what I was doing. Like I was trying to pitch people school communities. So it's like, things are always up in the air. If that makes sense. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Yeah.
Spike, you got a really cool name, by the way. That's a cool name.
Cheers.
No worries. Stray, I've spoken to Stray. You haven't followed up with me, bro. What's going on, bro?
I'm good. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I've been waiting for your follow up, bro. I always wait to hear a follow up from anyone I'm trying to
follow up, man.
Fair. All right, okay, we'll get to that. We'll get to that after. What's your question, bro?
All right. No, I just want to say I appreciate the call a lot. I had 3 quick questions, but my first one was you mentioned that you didn't get a closing mentorship or a setting mentorship. In terms of growth up, did you just learn everything by yourself on YouTube, sort of like VSL webinars? I know you said you got a mentor for webinars, but the main like crux of it, do you just self-teach yourself?
Yeah, you learn a lot through experience is one thing. Like experience would I could give someone my entire agency's SOPs and they would be in a way better position, but they would never be like you would learn more from 1 day of working with a client than 1 month of studying like a bunch of how to do it. So that's one thing. I think that's super important to use that as a preface. But YouTube, like there's so many resources on YouTube, like even my channel, like if any of you want to like go into it, like there's so much stuff. Like I'm literally breaking down funnels, clients. You can funnel hacking has been a huge thing. Just copy what other people do, and like the technical knowledge of how to set it up is like the easy part. Clicking that, like for example with ads, for me I was always like, oh, ads, like, oh, it's a bit risky, I don't know how to do that. It's like a huge weird thing, like, oh no, we can never do that. Just because I was kind of like didn't know how to operate ads manager effectively, and like that was just a huge bottleneck. So it's just like once you do it and you kind of get the technical bar out of the way, like you can, like copying is huge. I love copying. I love copying people. I copy people all the time. It's the best thing. It's absolutely the best thing. But yeah, and in terms of webinars, yeah, I did pay it because like paying will just fast track you. Like I could have probably learned it from YouTube, but I would have fucked up big time. I still kind of had like a huge amount of errors and stuff that we didn't do well in that first webinar. But I paid Charlie for his time, paid him like per hour for his time. One of the best things I've ever done, best money I've ever spent. I told Charlie, you ripped me off. Like, I stole from him. I made that webinar did 120K. I was on 12.5%. I made 15K in like 3 days. Most money I ever made, all because I paid Charlie like a few £100. Crazy stuff. So yeah,
fair enough. That's a good answer. Thank you. And I was going to ask next. You mentioned that you're currently working at capacity with your sort of done for you side on your agency. Is that something like you're happy with right now, or do you plan to sort of increase that capacity in the future if you hire?
Oh, no. Yeah, we're hiring, but I think one thing that I didn't touch on, if you want like specific like growth op and agency stuff, is the quality of your clients is way more important than the quantity of your clients. Always. So right now we're focusing. I'm also actually launching a couple of offers in-house, and what I mean by that is I have kind of my own offer. Let's say my own coaching offer that I'm operating for. But obviously I'm operating for because I'm the one running it. We're also launching a sales coaching offer with my sales manager, like from scratch with paid ads, where I have like 50% equity. We're then launching like I'm not going to speak about this one too much. But we're launching like another offer, and it's like where I have like majority equity. And so those ones, it's like instead of being on like a 10-20% rev share, I want like a 50% ownership or 60% ownership of the offer. So that's where we've been like really focused. And when you have those, it's like, yes, we can scale the agency, but really for me to put the operational complexity into doing that, it's only worth it if a deal pays me 5-10K a month at least nowadays. So like I'm blessed and I'm grateful to be at this point, but yeah, I am building the team and building the SOPs. That's like a huge thing that I've been doing. So the SOPs are kind of there. Now it's like finding talent. That's why I said kind of at the start of the call, talent, huge part of things.
That makes sense. Thank you, man. And my last question is, you said that one of your clients had about 129 followers, Amazon Trapstar, and you scaled into, what was it, 100K a month?
That was, we did in February, we did like 110K rev and about 80K cash. So maybe not 100. Kind of. I like to work on cash numbers, but yeah.
That's the thing. I wanted to ask, how did you even manage to scale someone with literally 100 followers to that amount? Like, how do you need to even find the trust?
Through ads. Yeah, it's just through paid. So we're running a webinar. We're running paid ads to a webinar to sales school. I've recorded a YouTube. It's going to be up, so I'll send it over to you, Shrey, because cool. It's like I can actually run through like some of the funnel, maybe. If you guys, I know there's more questions. If we have time at the end, so we've got like 20 more minutes, we can go through it. But really, it's just like being very good at paid. And paid traffic really comes down to ad creative and ad messaging. Like is the highest leverage thing that you can do. And so we had like a really good winning ad that we had, and that kind of carried the month. But that's going to be the case when you're on ads. You're going to have ads that bomb and ads that do really well.
Okay. So do you not think like a lot of these saw the guy's profile and was like, oh, this guy's got 100 followers, I can't really trust him?
Not really, because they've sat through a 2-hour webinar. Like you guys have sat here for an hour with me now. I think you guys have a lot more trust in me than you did an hour ago. 100%.
Fair enough.
And exactly. Like if I pitch super hard at the end of like a webinar, usually like the conversion is a lot higher than anything else. So yeah.
Cool. That makes sense, man. Thank you very much.
Awesome. All right, Ivan said I got a dip. Thank you. Cool. Glad you got some value, bro. Dante, let's hear it. You guys got some cool names.
Hi.
The whole Chris.
Thank you. I was wondering if you ever dealt with the fear of failure or fear of making mistakes and how you dealt with it.
Yeah, of course. I think if you aren't at least a little bit like anxious about failing, I don't think anyone saying that is entirely being truthful. Everyone wants to succeed first time. I think it's totally normal, but the way I see it is that, especially in this kind of info marketing space, is like failure is you just learn. Like I have failed more times than I can count. I think anyone who is success, like I'm telling you right now, I remember signing this original growth up client. We like basically he was dog shit. It was kind of the client's fault, but it was also my fault. I wasn't very good at the time. We launched it basically like we did fuck all. I was like, I failed, but like I just learned from that. There was no downside. Okay, like at the time it was kind of like, oh fuck, this went shit. And there have been webinars that we've kind of done worse at than we were expecting. There's been things that have gone worse than expected, but every single time we just learn. So as long as you never see it as a failure, you just see it as like the next step in like in a learning lesson for your journey. Like what kind of things are you like fearing, or like let's say like what are you scared of failing at the moment?
Well, it's mostly like I've done many things and it didn't work out like ever. So it's like, why should I start? Because it's probably not gonna succeed.
Are you talking about this in regards to setting as well? Like kind of starting with setting?
Well, I've tried trading as well, and it didn't succeed. But right now I'm already more convinced on that setting will actually succeed. But
you
it's
should be.
like,
You shouldn't be more. You need to be 100. You have to be in. You have to be like people should view you as crazy about how much you know setting is going to work, especially with. I know a lot of people that have come in and out of the Val community and offer that like you will crush. You will crush. There is a big demand for very good setters, and so just know that. Just put the work in, and things will work. Especially with setting, where it's like setting is great because it's like an entry point to making money online. It's quite easy. It's still kind of like a 9 to 5 in a way where you're trading time for money, but you got a lot of freedom and you learn so much. You'll crush, bro. You just need like you shouldn't worry about part. It's in a completely different industry. No one knows. You don't need to tell them. You can say, yeah, bro, I'm the GOAT. I fucking bossed everything I've done up to this date is gone so well, and I'm gonna crush it with like it's like one mental switch, and you're in a completely different paradigm.
so it's like basically gaslighting yourself into believing that you can, and it will.
Yeah. I would highly recommend getting the Alchemy of Self document, really like assessing your belief. We can even go into it in a little bit more detail, but really going to your like beliefs. Like, what do you clearly see yourself as like, oh, and this is, I'm going to tell you, maybe this will be super relatable. Maybe you guys will think, oh, this guy's a retard. Genuinely, before I started making money online, before I started saying, I thought like, I didn't think there was like some sort of curse, but it was kind of like, no, this is maybe it's just for other people. This just won't work for me. This making money online, it works it can work for anyone else, but I hadn't really been exposed to a lot of people that it had worked for, and I've really only seen on YouTube. But I was like, yeah, maybe some people are doing it, but just not me. Like this can't work for me. That's something you have to change that, because it can work. Like genuinely, like I said, I've met retards. I'm kind of a retard myself, and we're crushing. So like, I'm not smarter than you. It's just time, and it's just like going through uncertainty and pain. It's difficult, fear of failure. Like you're going to have to deal with those negative emotions and keep going despite them.
Okay, thank you.
No worries, bro. Christian, another sick name, bro. Christian Constantinu. Like that's like a goated name.
I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate it. Good to meet you, man. I've heard too much glaze from Hassan about you so far, so it's good to finally see you. I've kind of like a 3-part question, which firstly starts off with like, you talked about how you've branched into a lot of different things. You went saying closing. Obviously, you learned a lot of stuff down the way. In terms of like a ratio of what you paid for information and what you learned online, for example, like paid ads, right? How easy was that to learn? Did you pay for that to learn by yourself, or did you kind of actually invest into yourself there?
So, do you know Jeremy Haynes? Anyone here familiar with Jeremy Haynes?
Yeah, of course.
Something I want to do very soon, maybe not very, but sooner rather than later, let's say. I think as my team is like, once I really have like a team that I'm very confident in, and we're still like in the trading process with some people, buying his 10K a month offer, like the Inner Circle offer for the industry I'm in, it's like the best offer. Like everyone who is doing anything significant is working with Jeremy for good reason. So I have his like lower ticket offer. That's kind of where I learn ads. It's been game changing, and kind of like everything that I see. And like when you consume info, it's like no one can take the information out of your head. So now I can teach other people that. I can teach my team that. From what I've taken and what I've learned. So that's one thing. In terms of like paying to consume, like I think a lot of stuff is out there for free, but you will get to a level where information speeds you up. And if you're in any sort of position where you're making good money, you also got to realize, like, if I go to let me stop screen sharing and go to a Mario board. I'm going to draw something here that hopefully will be somewhat understandable. Hold up. Let me go to window. Wait. Screen 2. Let's see. So hopefully I don't get exposed on my Mario board here. But I have like a Mario board that has everything. Let's go to a blank board. Essentially, you have like a J curve when it comes to like your own success and your own making money, in the sense that like it looks kind of like this. In this, you don't see it now, but it's like like when I was making no money, I valued my time. Like I would probably do something for like, if you paid me $10 for like an hour of work, I would do it. Now I wouldn't do it. But what you got to realize is like your time backwards, like your time now is still worth a lot, because you, with the journey that you're going on, are going to have like this kind of success. Even if it's not like a J curve, it might be like this. Even if it's like this, like when you're here, like this is time right at the bottom. Let's say in a year's time, you're making 3 times the amount of money than you are now, Christine. Like imagine that. You would then put a lot more value on your time back here because you know that you're going to get to this point. So really what you're paying for when you pay for info is speed of execution, in terms of like, you're betting, like every time you invest in yourself, you're essentially betting on yourself, and you're the, like, you're the number one person you should be betting on yourself with, right? So like what I'm paying for here is like speed. Like, for example, I even told Val this, like, I should have paid for a setting coach. I should have paid for a closing coach. I don't know why I didn't. Like, obviously you can survive with YouTube, but it in terms of speed and in terms of where I'd probably be ahead of where I am now for paying that money. And if I'm considering, like, the main thing you have to consider here is that this can be like, imagine you're making 100K a month, right? Profit in your bank account. You, like 10K that you spent 3 years ago, or, 6 months ago, even, like, if I emptied your whole bank account today, and I told you in 3 months' time, the information that you paid for in you emptying your bank account would be making you 100K a month profit, you wouldn't give a fuck how much money's in your bank account at the time. So that's kind of like how I think of things now. That's why I want to, like.
I see. I thought you would take a different route. Sorry, because I thought like you were putting a lot of emphasis on that. You don't need to pay for a lot of info, because I feel like I've paid a lot and I'm just not utilizing it at all compared to like YouTube hasn't and has got to like that point.
Not using it, that's a whole different story. That's about doing like for me, when I pay someone, it's like, yeah, I know that it's the right thing. Like, I really have consumed an insane amount of YouTube content. I have like really thought about the decision, and I also don't go into something if I know I just won't use it. Like, for example, what's a good example? Like, I wouldn't go right now, like maybe in the future I'll invest into content, but I feel like
you haven't invested into content yet?
No, not necessarily. Like, I've really picked up a lot from YouTube. I picked up a lot from people I know in the space. Like, I have a lot of friends. Like, also, your network is a huge place to start learning from, until it gets to a point where you're like, okay, this person clearly has something that I need, and I really like their offer. I really like what their clients are doing, and that's when you would kind of go into it. Like, for content, like for me, it's like, I make content based on a big idea. I find stories that build my brand as like a personal brand. That's kind of like how I see content. Even with YouTube, like if I go to my YouTube, it's like, I just find an idea. I have like a ton of videos scheduled as well, but I have an idea for a video. Like, I have like, okay, I want to do a case study. I want to do like a webinar video, and I just make the video. Like, I don't really, and of course maybe I have better results if I planned it out, but I don't want to, like, my YouTube is really, like, your personal brand should be personal. That's why I don't like copying, like, obviously copy parts, but like, just on a content level, like, having your own style is really important. So for you, like, what is the kind of, you had like a 3-part, like, what's the decision you're kind of making now? What's the,
no, it's just more like because a lot of the things I think you figured out, like, you don't know enough, so hence you paid for it. But for example, like for content, right? A lot of people at the start, they were just, for example, I invested into content because I thought, like, I don't know anything about it, hence I'm gonna invest into it. I haven't utilized it to the most because like my path diverged a little bit from that, so it wasn't necessary, and I feel quite guilty about that. But for you, like, you didn't invest into it.
No, that's really normal. That's so normal. For me, it's like I just have to know that I'm going to be using and I'm going to be useful, because until that point, I think that what is on YouTube and like what you can learn just by just studying other people, like, you don't need to be crazy to run a good webinar. You can go and just watch 5 webinars and funnel hack 5 webinars, and you'll probably from that get a way better understanding of how to run a really good webinar, but paying shortcuts that. And you can ask questions to a certain person and you can get direct feedback. That's the difference between, that's why I'm like quite bullish on a service-based business, because it's doing something rather than only selling info, which at the end of the day is getting more and more like saturated over time with AI, but there's still that implementation aspect that you don't get. But you shouldn't feel guilty, because it will come back around and it will have been valuable. I'm sure. Unless you got completely ripped, which I don't think is the case.
No, I didn't, of course not. And sorry, just to kind of follow up, this is a bit of a different question, but why did you go and start your MBA to if you like were going so far down the agency route and like doing done for you and done with you offers?
Good question. So I have like the SOPs in place, because I also like had to make that for my team primarily. And I was like through my YouTube content that was targeted towards agent, like you can see in my original, like in my YouTube content, like the first videos that I posted, these are all like funnel breakdowns, kind of this stuff that is going to be very attracting, like a coach primarily, but I was getting a lot of operators reach out, especially after like these two videos. Like these numbers, like 260K. My client had less than 5,000 followers at the time. Fucking like really crazy numbers. So I was getting a lot of people reach out over time who knew me, and it's like, why would I not give them the SOPs and kind of build something that's been incredibly useful for me? It's like, it's like anyone who runs, if I had a chance to speak to someone who was running a 200K a month agency in the same niche as me, or where I wanted to go, like even just their one-on-one advice, like in terms of direction, in terms of what I could learn, in terms of the moves I need to be making, it's like we're setting, it's like, do I take this role or that role? If you ask Val, if you ask one of the more experienced people in this community, they could help you make that decision in a heartbeat. So that's also why I think I could like add value to the market and not take up an insane amount of time, because the SOPs are like I've spent a lot of time on them, making sure that they're really good. That's why it's like, why would I not? In a way, it's like, yes, it could have taken away time from the agency, but the agency is only scalable to a certain point without like hiring a team, which is obviously now what I'm focusing on. But yeah.
Okay, very good. That makes sense. Thanks for your time.
No worries, bro. Thank you guys all for your time. Toby, let's do this one. Then we got Val, and then maybe we'll cut things off. I don't have another call, but I want to probably go back to sleep. So
Yeah,
I'm
no
really
problem.
tired.
No problem.
No worries, bro.
It'll be quick. So overall, I think one thing you've really mentioned is like a big shift was, how you change your identity, right? And you stopped tolerating certain behaviors when you're starting out. And so in that case, like when you're in that sort of stage, trying to, build a new identity, what would you say would be like the most specific way of thinking that you had to eliminate that like immediately helped you in terms of your performance?
Specific way of thinking that you have to eliminate. You have to eliminate any sort of belief that makes you, or like you're going to be constantly in battle with it, but you have to sort of, like people say limiting belief. I would kind of call it like a belief that makes you, for me, it's like doubt that it's even possible. Because I think you just have to know that it's possible and know that you like see yourself in the position where it is happening. Like for me right now, I think it would be impossible for me to make $100 million tomorrow. And obviously it probably isn't possible, but it's not going to happen either way. If you put a gun to my whole family's head and said, you need to make $100 million tomorrow, I might find a way to do some illegal fucking crypto hacking shit and find out $100 million. I don't know, probably not the case. But I think the main thing in terms of the identity is like making sure that you actually can see it happening more than anything. Because I think a lot of the biggest thing people will struggle with is actually like seeing, like, at least for me, is like actually believing it was possible. So when I started off in setting, like even believing like 2K a month was possible, 5K a month, like I said, it was like holy fucking shit. But I still wrote that down, and I still like read it every day, and I still tried to move the needle forward every day, and eventually it did happen. But that was probably the biggest thing for me. Maybe not for everyone else. Like for some people, it's like certain fear, even fear of success, fear of failure can be like really big things that hold people back. Maybe what position are you in, Toby, at the moment?
I'm currently a SDR on an offer. I'm planning to leave and move to a bigger offer just because like I've been on the offer for too long now. I think I'm way too stagnant, so I'm looking to move to a new offer, eventually move up to being a closer, and then probably go up for that. So
when you say you want to go into another offer, why do you not want to just go into closing now? Like you've got the SDR experience clearly. I'm not sure like how much you're making, but why would you go into closing now?
I was previously a closer on the alpha already, so like I moved from being an SDR to DMs, then up to being a closer, and then back to SDR. I've been on the role for like it's been well over a year now, but
whoa,
that's why it's time to move. So
yeah, like what's been stopping you from,
honestly, the reason that I chose not to leave earlier was mainly because it was like I knew I just moved to a new place, like moved cities and everything. So I was trying to, keep stability. But now I realized, like, look, I can say that all I want, but I want to, continue to move upwards. Right? I can't continue to stay in the same place forever. So
no, 100%. So I would not go into another. Why would you go into another SDR if you have like for me, closing is just going to pay you more. It's going to give you more lessons than another SDR role if you've been doing it for a while. It's probably more. Like you could also tell from like what is the most uncomfortable thing. That's typically sometimes the best thing to do as well. So for you, like going to closing, like you don't need to go into closing even before you like go into a service space, but unless you've built up, like that's why I say also building a network and a brand, even just being here is so important as well, because it will give you opportunities. But I would definitely go into closing. I would not you got to think of it as like, am I taking a step sideways, backwards or forwards? in every kind of career decision path that you make. You always want to be trying to move forward as much as you can.
Yeah, of course. That's why I'm looking at making that move, just so build a bit more leverage before I move. Just because I'll be honest, like I did not do well when I was closing, so I got moved down in the first place. So what I'm thinking is to go for that and then make a real run at it once I've really got like a lot of perfectly good results.
Well, no, you're never gonna have that's just retarded. Like you're never gonna have perfectly good results before you do anything. Yeah, that's the reason why you still haven't gone. Like in a year ago I was setting. Now I'm here. The reason is because I failed so much, and I wasn't scared to like fail at close. I wasn't scared to get my fucking ass handed to me by a prospect and then to leave a payment. Like that's been huge. So like, don't be scared. Don't be scared to fuck up as a closer, because realistically, you get hired as a closer. If you're shit, you get experience, you get fired, and then you can just go to another role. They don't know unless the people know each other, which is unlikely as hell because the space is bigger than you think. So yeah. I'm gonna objection on you, bro. You need to go forward. Don't go sideways. It's gonna be more uncomfortable. Bro, I tell you guys right now, my first closing call, my heartbeat was so high. I was stressing so much. It was so bad. But like, just gotta keep going. Even the same, like pitching my first operating, it was so scary. But yeah, Val, what's up, bro?
How do you make sure you're working on the priority things? And can we take a look at your weekly schedule out of curiosity?
Oh, do you want to see my calendar, guys? Okay, let's see this. Screen 2. Wait, I need to be careful here. Calendar. My calendar is really empty. I don't really run my stuff on like, look at this, bro. Like, this is my calendar. I obviously have more meetings than this. I just schedule them in when they happen. But there is like next week. Okay, there's some stuff. I don't know what this is. Like this is like my sleep schedule is kind of cooked. So I have like weekly client sync here on like Tuesdays, like when we do client syncs for some reason. I have a team like called my team. In terms of like, I want to keep my calendar as I hate shit being on my calendar. I want to have as much time to think and act on what I need to do as best as possible. So in terms of like process for me, by the way, guys, I'm not perfect. I'm coming here like I do so much shit like bad. Like there's so much holes in my business. There's so much stress. There's so many things that go wrong like, every day. Like you guys wouldn't even like. Obviously, I'm not going to say that. Like, oh yeah, guys, my business is so dog shit. But there's always a lot of stress. But in terms of like decision making process for what like finding like the next highest leverage thing to do. Like for me right now, it's a case of where is my time being spent? I just analyze where my time. That's why like I really love to keep a lean calendar. Like I try to like I don't want anything on my calendar if it doesn't have to be there. I find where am I doing things that I don't want to do, that I don't think I should be doing. Like let's say my goal is 100K profit in a month. Okay, what would that person be doing? Am I doing anything at all right now that isn't conducive to that? So for example, something like in my team that I was struggling with is I was still doing like a ton of like updating fucking landing pages and building like story sequences for one client in particular. And I was like, no, like that's ridiculous. So obviously the solution there is for me to spend my time, instead of spending my time doing that thing, like let's say it takes me half an hour a week to do that and it's just annoying. Instead I can spend 2 hours making a certain SOP, hiring the right person, maybe it takes a bit longer, and save myself all of this time and more because this person can do other stuff, and then have that documented. So like a huge thing for me has just been documenting processes recently. I think it's like any agency, it's so important. Also building like a client dashboard on Notion, because our stuff is all over the place. Like I said, shit's just all over the place. So that's a big focus point for me, because I know that I cannot scale like let's say I need to assign 2 more clients to keep scaling. I kind of break down, okay, my goal is here, 100K. I need maybe, let's say I'm going to make 30K from my own offer in a month with this, like just kind of with how things are going. And I need 70K from the agency in profit, right? I'm talking about profit. And let's say our average deal in the agency makes us 10K a month, some more, some a little bit less. So I need seven clients, right? Cool. If I want to have 7 clients making 10K a month, I need to have like the right, first of all, how many people do I need? Okay, I've got kind of the team structure laid out. Cool, I need to start hiring them. I need to give them the right information. to manage 7 clients, I need a really consistent dashboard. So I'm like, that's what I'm focusing on now. Then we also need to be capable of taking our clients in a deal to the point where we're making 10K a month from the deal. So that's where ads came in, like paying for that. That was like a huge decision that I made, just based on that kind of working backwards logic from the goal. It's almost like Socratic reasoning of, oh, how will this happen? How will this happen? How will this happen? And then basing my time based off that. But to be honest, even in the last few weeks, I've really, really struggled with like having too much shit to do. As in, like, I have so much stuff to do that I can't focus on one task. I can't get deep work done because I'm always getting pinged for this. So that's also something that I've like, okay, I have to fix that before I can then do this. Because like, you always work in terms of urgency, right? If something is like, if you touch your hand on a hot stove, you're going to take it off like very quickly because it's the most urgent. So I also work based on that. I'm not sure if that was a whole load of LARP, but that's kind of how I think about things.
No, it makes sense. How do you plan on getting your team to stop pinging you all the time for things?
It's more so like, it's also me. I'm also very like, I feel like my attention span is a little bit cooked because I'm always task switching. Like in the modern day, like everyone is getting like, oh, I just open my email. I open this when I don't really have to. It's not always a situation where I'm getting like asked for something. But then it's sometimes like there is so much going on with clients. Like there is, I have to send this contract, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this. But in terms of that, it's like finding the right people where you can delegate client communication to, or like the majority of it. Very, very important. And setting the right expectations within your team so that they know what you can be contacted for and what you can't, what you shouldn't be contacted for. And when you are, you know, like, yeah, I think that is a huge thing. Like making sure that people are, even your clients, setting the right expectation with clients, even more important. Like even more important, because if a client expects something and it's not done, they're going to have a much sour taste than if they didn't expect it and it's not done. Like if you didn't ever say something about making them a webinar funnel and you don't deliver it, like it's no problem. But like, so that's a huge thing for me. Like making sure my team's expectations are set on what can be expected from me and what is like I realistically don't want to be doing low leverage building funnels, writing like emails and stuff. Like I'll focus on the high leverage copy campaigns across clients, but I shouldn't be doing anything else. And they know that. So that's also helped.